Foremost, I'd like to say that the findings and insights from the demographic trends and housing patterns in the Philippines and determinants in formation of extended and multifamily household in the Philippines, these two papers are important considerations in the crafting of responsive policies and programs for sustainable housing and urban development, as well as in the achievement of the overall development goals of the country. These are very timely, relevant, and useful for all stakeholders from both the government and the private sector. Next slide, please. So, next slide, please. I'd like to put forward that first, on the disaggregation of generational categories, the housing preferences in terms of specific age groupings and socioeconomic classifications, such as the young professionals, the middle age, and the elderly. Each of these categories will have different concepts on sustainable housing. And there is a need for planners and policymakers to examine how these generational indicators affect housing need and overall housing demand. Further, I'd like to note that market segments and segmentation is important for the private sector, for the developers to determine the design of programs and developments which they will pursue in their respective projects. Next, please. On the findings of the impact of delayed marriage due to different factors, such as individual preference, improvement in life expectancy, and economic volatility. This will also have an effect on housing need and demand and overall design of housing interventions. The sizes and standards of housing, for instance, are important considerations. Housing designs for more mature and elderly will be different vis-a-vis the young and those with more complex preferences and affordability. So correspondingly, home ownership vis-a-vis rental housing and other innovative modes of acquisition, use of ROC, sweat equity, community-based, cooperative housing will have to be established and considered. Financing for those who will engage in rental housing and incentives will also be a good measure to encourage further participation in other modes of housing intervention. Next slide, please. On aging population. Population characteristics in 2040 will be going from pyramid to tree-like structure with a narrow base. So as being experienced by other Asian countries, specifically Japan, also China and European countries, we will be experiencing an aging population soon. So we must prepare for forward-looking policies and programs towards the welfare of the elderly or the 60 uh, population and above, or more senior segment of the population. So not just normal vertical condominiums and subdivisions, but perhaps the establishment of retirement villages, the development of developments with accessible and responsive medical care and facilities, and comprehensive approach in the design and location of housing developments. So standards that will take into consideration the aging population should all be considered and incorporated in the programs both of the government and the private sector. Next slide, please. I'd like to make mention of the artificial intelligence and its impact on us. If we speak about the future, we cannot discount artificial intelligence as an influence in family formation and dynamics. AI is now in front of us. So there will be, or there are innovations in medical care which will increase life expectancy. There is also job insecurity, which can be brought about by displacement of some people. However, on the positive side, data gathering and analytics will be improved because of the AI. So this is an important factor to consider as well on demographics and changes in population characteristics. Next slide, please. Rural to urban migration patterns remains the same, but policies on urban development and integrated area approach on new town development must be defined and polished. The national land use planning and development strategy are vital and important. So rental housing and sustainable housing facilities to house urban migrant workers should be pursued. It is also important to identify which areas are exhibiting out-migration and in-migration, as this will be helpful in the consideration for policymakers and the national government to have a more balanced population distribution and development of the different regions. There should be a focus also on policies and programs relating not just on employees' protection, but also the demand for housing and other basic related services. Expansion and uh, spread of urbanization outside Metro Manila should be considered as well in the right planning and directions of the government. Next, please. Next slide, please. On the decline of household formation among young adults, on the other side of the coin, the advent of technology and internet might also give rise to early cohabitation of young adults and possibly teenage pregnancy, which is the problem now of our country, especially in urban areas. Policy and programs and intervention in this regard are needed, and the demand for living spaces for single households, such as condominiums and rental housing, again, affordable condominiums and rental housing should be considered. Next, on the findings that a third of the population with household size of 6 and above members uh, is prevalent despite of the decreases in total fertility rate. There is a need to examine the demographic and socio-economic characteristics of this segment of the population, and more importantly, perhaps there should be studies which will dissect the value that we attach to having children. For instance, are these reasons to break away from poverty? Are the parents having children to take care of them in their old age or to help them in the farm activities? And for investment and for the joy of just seeing the children to grow up. So all these things, including the cultural values that we attach to having children, should also be examined so that our intervention can also be tailored. Next slide, please. On the preference, next slide. On the preference for small household, this is uh, just reflective of housing. This is not just reflective of housing space and size, but the economic reasons in general and the interface of demographics and housing markets. So relatedly, the increases in single households and non-family household can also be accompanied by a shift in housing financing policies and modes of acquisition. So as the study found out that there's a shift in single household and non-family households. So perhaps I see that the Development Mutual Fund, HDMF, is very much represented in this forum, as well as the other financial institutions. Perhaps they can consider allowing loan talking, not just for related individuals by consanguinity, but also friends and other arrangements. So this, I also heard earlier that Dr. Peng Ballesteros was suggesting that the finance sector should also encourage perhaps loans and financing for institutional care and other similar activities. So these are all welcome and would also be very timely. Next, increase in the percentage of workers with place of work different from place of residence. Okay. The need to further examine and dissect important indicators, as this has bearing on location of housing and developments and investments, and also findings that are important in equitable distribution of population and development, especially in the countryside. The concept of work from home arrangement and the digital working nomads perhaps should be considered connectivity, the common list workspaces and addresses. Similar arrangements can all be considered. Next, please, on the distribution of household by household type, singular, nuclear, extended, multifamily, non-related uh, families. These are all indicators of double up houses, which is a big chunk of the overall housing need. And this is very important because this is an area of policy and program intervention. The utilization of housing stock. Currently, the government is in possession of some 2 million housing units with which have been classified as acquired assets of both the government and the private sector and other financial institutions. And also, to add to this, are the POGO facilities. These are all housing stock that can be utilized immediately to satisfy our housing needs, especially the priority groups. Then, on the components of extended and multifamily households, or those households which live with their own family, root family, and other relatives, or non-owned, non-root family, this has highlighted the effects of these changes in the society, resource sharing opportunity, perhaps helping each other to defray the cost of utilities in the house, or just babysit the young and the elderly. So this has also highlighted the support of members needing assistance, young female adults, elderly, and young families with children. Well, on the methodology, I do not doubt the integrity and efficiency and capability of our experts. We would just want to caution some limitations on regression analysis. In conclusion, lastly, I would like to present this diagram on sustainable housing and interventions. So this shows a menu of policy options to housing. At the center or at the top, you will see that we should focus on the people we are planning for. I am suggesting a disaggregation of the different target clientele. For instance, number one, those who have no access to financing for housing. And normally these are the people who are left out, as early emphasized by Dr. Racelis. Second, those who have access to financing but lacks affordability. And third, those needing subsidy. These are usually the stressed or distressed stages, the victims of calamities, people living in disaster areas, those people who suddenly lost their jobs, or those who are sick. And fourth, those people who have access to financing and who can also afford. So segmentations and different socioeconomic and demographic characteristics of these individuals can be done so that corresponding interventions can be tailored by both the government and the private sector. There is also a need for the legislative sectors for enabling laws for both the government, especially the local government, the national and local government sector, so that they will be enabled to do specific programs and policies. Of course, programs, as earlier noted, should not just be on housing per se, but complete with basic services that are needed to have a decent community. So these are not just houses, but complete, including perhaps the need to have access to employment and decent daily wage. Of course, the role of financing the different financial institutions from the government and the banks is very important, as financing is important. And most importantly, the participation of everyone, the academe, the basic sector, the civil societies, and the private sector in doing all these things. As they say, it takes a village to raise a child, but it takes a nation to build a community, a sustainable, resilient, decent, accessible, and affordable housing and communities. So in the end, I would like to enjoin everyone that in our little way, let us do efforts to address our housing and urban development concerns. Thank you very much and good morning.